You can't talk to a single Georgia fan without them telling you how concerned they are about their offense this season. Why are they concerned about their offense? This is Georgia. Georgia always has some of the best recruiting classes in America. They always have some of the best offensive linemen, some really good receivers, and normally pretty consistent quarterback play. So why is it that there seems to be more concern around Georgia's offense than normal? Well, it has to come down to the most feared man in Athens, Georgia at the moment, which is Georgia's offensive coordinator, Mike Bobo. Now, why is there so much fear around Mike Bobo? He's not a 360-pound defensive tackle. He's not Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis. Why would you fear Mike Bobo more than you fear Kirby Smart? Well, it seems as if the biggest kryptonite to Georgia having another successful season, winning the SEC, making it to the playoff, happens to be Georgia's offensive play caller, Mike Bobo. And it's weird because 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, when Mike Bobo first took over for former offensive coordinator Todd Monken, who had left Georgia for the NFL, now with the Ravens, the offense didn't miss a beat Mike Bobo's first season back in Athens. They were 5th in yards per game. They averaged nearly 40 points per game. So at one point, Mike Bobo's stock was trending up. Nobody wanted him fired. Nobody had any complaints about the play calling. Well, 2024 rolls around, and then all of a sudden, Georgia's offense looks out of sorts. The offensive line has a bunch of injuries they have to overcome. You have a receiving core that essentially had defensive backs catching passes with the amount of drops that they had. Georgia led all of FBS and drop passes. That's the stat that you never would think to affiliate with Georgia, especially a Kirby Smart coach team. Kirby Smart is all about the small things, the attentions to details, being able to execute and dominate at the fundamentals. So you don't expect a Kirby Smart team to lead the nation in drops. And when I hear Georgia fans say that Mike Bobo is the biggest issue with this offense, I always go back to the old football saying that goes, coaches coach and players make plays. Mike Bobo was not the reason for Georgia's offensive struggles last year. What kind of plays can you dial up that has success when you have a receiving core that has butterfingers for hands, an offensive line that was down in terms of the level of play that you normally see a Georgia offensive line perform at, which hindered the run game and put more pressure on the quarterback's shoulders to make plays, which resulted in him being turnover heavy? Mike Bobo was part of Georgia's problems on offense, but he wasn't all of Georgia's problems on offense last year. There were bigger issues that Georgia had than Mike Bobo's play calling. Heck, if I have receivers that lead the nation in drops, I'm calling hella screens too. Would you not? So you're just going to keep letting it rip the guys knowing that they can't catch? I truly want to know, for the Georgia fans out there that don't believe in Mike Bobo, that believe Kirby Smart should have parted ways with him at the end of last season, if you were calling plays, if you was in Mike Bobo's shoes, what would you have done differently to change how Georgia's offense performed in 2024 with all of the personnel issues that Mike Bobo had to deal with? I want honest answers. I don't want to see any comments saying stop making excuses for Mike Bobo when the coaches coach and the players make plays. I'm pretty sure if Mike Bobo was young enough and had the ability to get some eligibility to go catch passes, he would do so. If he had the ability to go out there and block on the offensive line, he would do so, but he can't. You can only call plays as good as what your players allow the plays to look. And Georgia's offense just wasn't good from a personnel standpoint. So why I believe in Mike Bobo still as Georgia's offensive coordinator this year is, for one, all of the personnel issues that hindered Mike Bobo's play calling has been corrected. Kirby Smart gets 2 proven wide receivers out of the transfer portal. Noah Thomas from Texas A&M, who's going to be a big body, deep threat in this offense. Then you get an explosive playmaking wide receiver in Zachariah Branch that's like a pinball with the ball in his hands. He can take a simple 5-yard slant and turn it into a 65-yard touchdown. He's one of the most dynamic receivers in all of college football. So you get 2 really good portal additions. On top of that, you have a 6-man rotation at wide receiver. So you got Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas. You got a guy like Kobe Young, who was a big transfer coming from Miami last year. He didn't really play much last season. He had some off-the-field things that kind of gave him a slow start to getting acclimated in Georgia's offense. Well, he's in his 2nd season now with this team, and he was really good at Miami. I expect him to have a bounce-back season with Georgia. Georgia also added Josh McCray at running back. Bruiser scored over 10 touchdowns for Illinois last year. You pair him up with Nate Frazier, you're going to have one of the best running back duos in the nation behind what should be an improved offensive line that we see revert back to the standard that we are accustomed to seeing a Georgia offensive line play at. Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. What makes him a better option compared to Carson Beck? He's more mobile. You can call more design quarterback runs. You can run more RPOs, more read options, which also helps improve your rushing attack. And it also takes some of the pressure off of the passing game. Georgia now, with them fixing their wide receiver woes, the offensive line hopefully improving, you should be able to play complimentary football again. Mike Bobo, when he took over for Todd Monken, Georgia was a balanced team. They were good throwing the football. They were good running the football. That's what Georgia has to get back to in order to have success on offense this year. They don't need flashy quarterback play. Hell, they don't need their offense to be flashy. Kirby Smart has never been about the flash. He's just all about getting from point A to point B. He's about consistency. And that's what you should see out of Georgia's offense this year that you didn't see last year, or what Georgia lacked last year was that consistency from week to week. You never knew what you was going to get out of Georgia's offense. You could play good 1 week against Clemson, then a few weeks later, you're barely struggling to walk out of a win against Kentucky. You beat Texas on the road, then you get destroyed by Ole Miss. It's unfair to put all of Mike Bobo, or to put all of Georgia's struggles on offense last year on Mike Bobo. There's only so much you can do as a play caller, as a coach, when the players aren't going out there and executing. I believe in Mike Bobo still as Georgia's offensive coordinator, and if Kirby Smart felt like a change needed to happen, I feel he would have had the proper judgment to put his loyalty aside and his personal relationship with Mike Bobo to aside for the sake of doing what was best for Georgia and firing him. But Kirby Smart brought Mike Bobo back, which means that he still trusts Mike Bobo. Kirby Smart is the best head coach in college football, so I'm going to trust his judgment. And I feel Georgia fans shouldn't be stressing as much over the offensive play calling as what they are heading into this season.